Bitcoin is going up forever. And I'm going to explain why. Because that's quite the bold claim. And if you were to ask me that a few years ago, I would have thought you were crazy. But I do believe that Bitcoin's purchasing power will just continue to appreciate indefinitely, as far into the future as we can possibly see. And before we get to answering why that is, we have to ask, why is money valuable at all in the first place? Why do we care? Money is just a series of ones and zeros, just numbers on a screen. I mean, really, it does nothing. It just sits there. We exchange it for one another. What does money solve? Well, money solves this coincidence of wants. If you want to sell shoes and I want to sell milk, we'd have to have the exact same amount of them that we believe to be equally valuable and exchange with each other at the same time. And so money comes in, and it's a series of ones and zeros that we can exchange for each other, that we can denominate into smaller and smaller units and larger units to then equate a certain amount of value that we can exchange with each other. This is what money is. This is what money is useful at doing. It helps us be able to communicate value with one another across the entire world at any given time, past, present, or future. And so it's really important. It's a really important innovation. It's a really important technology. It is the technology that we price all other technologies in. And so if we think about certain kinds of money that we've had in the past, or that we have in the present, one of them being political currency, which I'm referring to, let's say, US dollars, European euros, pounds, lira, yen, whatever. All of these are political currencies. They're a series of ones and zeros that are created and maintained by the given political jurisdiction. There's a given number of them, and that is the series of numbers that we use to price in all the other technologies and all the other valuable things in our world. If we had no things to exchange with in the marketplace, if you had no shoes, or I had no milk, or we had nothing to exchange with, the numbers are completely worthless. The money is completely worthless. It is a made-up conceptualization. It is the stuff that brings value to the money. You know, in the Bible, this is why the love of money is described as the root of all evil, or at least a part of why, is that the love of money, the desire for the ones and zeros, is inherently a desire for anything material of this world, anything that is exchangeable on earth in this lifetime. That's the love of money. It's desiring this conceptualization of those things. It's desiring the technology at which all other technologies become possible to us. And so, in the practical sense, what does that mean? Well, that means that our political currencies, if you're in the modern world of the United States, let's say, the US dollar, or if you're in a monopoly world, it's the monopoly dollars that are not actually valuable. You want the houses and the properties and the rents of monopoly. You don't actually want the monopoly dollars. It is really beautiful behind me. That's gorgeous. Anyway, so all that to say is that whether you're in monopoly with monopoly dollars, or the United States with US dollars, or Bitcoin with Satoshis, you don't really want the monopoly dollars. You don't really want the US dollars. And you don't even really want the Satoshis. You want what those things can buy you. Like trucks. You want what the things can buy you. That's what brings value to the money. And so, why do I say Bitcoin is going to appreciate forever? Why is it going to go up forever? Because the design of money is to price in the value of all these other technologies, of all the bread, all the milk, and everything else that we produce in the world. All the technologies and commodities, everything we produce gets priced in terms of the money. And so with other forms of money, when we produce more stuff, when we produce more technology, the incentive rises for us to dilute that currency. Let's take me, for example. If I have 100 billion tokens out there, 100 billion Luke coins, and we are pricing now more technology today than we were in the past, there's more prosperity. And so for me, the incentive goes up. That's like, hey, people have more prosperity, they're living better lives. My tokens are now more valuable because they're pricing in more prosperity. And so what's my incentive? Well, if the value of my money has doubled, pretty easily, for very low cost, I can just make a few billion more tokens, give them to people in exchange for more stuff. And now, okay, cool, that's great. I didn't hurt anyone, at least directly. I have more stuff because I exchanged the money for stuff. I'm better off. Everyone else is a little worse off, but because I'm better off in a centralized manner, I'm greatly benefited at the slight detriment of everyone else. They don't really care that much. And I care a lot because my life is a whole lot better because I've centrally harvested those gains. And when I talk about, online and on social media and on my podcast, when I talk about how fiat money, political money, inherently results in further centralization, this is why. Because as you are destroying everyone else's purchasing power in a decentralized manner, in a very wide manner. You are centralizing that benefit. And so as that continues on into the future, the incentive to be a part of that centralized entity only grows perpetually. When I often talk about how fiat money, political money, has caused so much of these entitlement programs and lobbying programs and the warmongering industry and all these other things that we tend to dislike about our governments, that we tend to have disdain for, we tend to hate, and we tend to oppose. Most of those things are directly caused, sometimes indirectly, but most of them are directly caused by this centralization of money. It increases the incentive to consolidate this power and consolidate information, which therefore brings misinformation and distortions in the rest of the world. And so what happens then if we remove the ability for us to do that? We're now Luke coins. Luke is no longer in charge of Luke coins. They're just coins. And now let's say we have 100 billion Luke coins out there. Nobody can make any more. Well, what's going to happen is that if the world continues, if the world progresses into the future and we keep making more technology, more food, more housing, more transportation, more fuel, more innovations, more smartphones that you can record videos on, more social media, if we just keep making more stuff, that then gets priced into that same number of underlying currency units, well then what happens to those currency units? They become more valuable indefinitely, perpetually. Because if there's no way for me to destroy it today, then there's probably going to be no way for me to destroy it tomorrow. And so no matter how much stuff we make, the future potential value of those tokens will only continue to increase over time. And that, when we say that Bitcoin is going up indefinitely, when we say it's going up forever, that's why. With all other forms of currency, what happens is that we dilute the currency as the currency becomes more valuable, aka, and the currency only becomes valuable as you make more technology. And so comparing that to Bitcoin, like all these other forms of currency, Bitcoin only becomes more valuable because we can make more stuff. That's the only reason Bitcoin is becoming more valuable. If humans stop making stuff, if civilization stops, if technology collapses, population collapses, if we have that, then yeah, Bitcoin will be less valuable because it's pricing in less technological gains. It's pricing in less productivity. It's pricing in less prosperity gains towards society. And so this idea that Bitcoiners are all pessimistic and we're preferring the collapse of civilization over it, that's just not true. The whole idea behind Bitcoin is not this pessimistic argument, this pessimistic worldview that, civilization is going to collapse and we're all going to use Bitcoin in this post-apocalyptic world as fiat dies. It's like, no, that's not the proper view. The proper view is that money is the technology we use to price in all other technologies. And right now, we are in this ancient world where we are diluting our money. We are destroying our money, aka the technology we price in all other technologies, as those other technologies become more valuable because we can afford to do so, and the incentive is so high that we will do so no matter the case, because it's just what we do. We're humans. And so if you take those humans out of the loop, and we can no longer do that, well then all of a sudden the technology we use to price in all the technologies remains finite, it remains fixed, and therefore as society develops, as society gets better, as we have more and more technologies, as we have more and more industry, more and more humans, more and more ability to produce prosperity in the future, then the perpetual value goes up in correspondence with that. And so, this is why I have to tell people that it's so early to Bitcoin, like we can't even conceive of it because the majority of value gains to society, the majority of value gains to Bitcoin come as the majority of value gains come to society. And so even once Bitcoin has surpassed $100 million a coin, even once Bitcoin is way above any possible exchange rate in fiat terms that we can imagine today, even then, it's still early because the majority of those technologies, the majority of the people, the majority of the gains still come after fiat is completely gone, completely washed off. That's when Bitcoin is still unbelievably absurdly cheap. And it's hard for us to conceptualize that because we're thinking in terms of dollars, we're thinking in terms of political currency units, we're thinking in terms of ones and zeros that we just kind of assume have intrinsic value, when my whole point of this video, my whole point of speaking online is that it doesn't. The US dollars are ones and zeros, your monopoly dollars are ones and zeros, Bitcoins and sats are ones and zeros. They're all made up. It's just that the ones and zeros that are most difficult to reproduce are what become money, because that is what we can use to price in all these other technologies. So I just make this video to emphasize that point, that it's not the ones and zeros themselves that have the value. It's the ability to communicate value of all the technologies we actually care about. Putting food on our plate, having a house over our roof. Those are the technologies we really care about. And so the ones and zeros that are most difficult to reproduce are the ones that most accurately reflect the value in those technologies. And that's why we care about the ones and zeros. That's why we work so hard to acquire more of these ones and zeros. And with Satoshi's, in Bitcoin's network, this is our series of ones and zeros. The reason sats will become exponentially more valuable is not because I'm hoping and crossing my fingers and praying for US dollars to decline and that I can sell it later for more US dollars. That's not the right mindset. That's a pessimistic mindset. That's a limited mindset. I believe the more optimistic mindset, the more rational mindset, and the more uplifting mindset is to believe that, okay, we'll make more technology in the future, we'll have a better future ahead of us, and so as we have a better future priced into the same number of sats, then inherently the sats become more valuable. And so I really hope, that's one of my main hopes, that people can change their perception when it comes to Bitcoin, and only as a result of them changing their perception when it comes to money. There's so many more important things to life than money. Don't love money, don't care about the ones and zeros. Like, it doesn't matter. It really doesn't. And my point in framing Bitcoin this way is to hopefully have you realize that it's not, you understanding Bitcoin is not the most important thing to you. The most important thing, my best hope for you, is to realize that there are many things more important in life than money. And I think you won't properly understand Bitcoin until you realize that the numbers are made up, and that because the numbers are made up and they're only pricing technology, Bitcoin's only going to become more valuable as we are pricing it in more technologies. And so it's such an optimistic worldview, and I hope that these videos are encouraging and insightful and aren't just more content and more things that you feel like you have to watch, but something that shifts context and shifts mindsets and framings and worldviews. I really hope that's the case, because if all I do is just talk a bunch of noise into the abyss, into the online abyss of endless content, then I'm not doing this right. I'm not doing my job right. So anyway, I hope this has been useful to you. Please subscribe if you want more ramblings of this strange person on his evening walks. That'd be great. If you subscribe, I'll put out more content, like, comment, do all that wonderful stuff. If you want to talk to me more, like one-on-one, I have consulting options. I work for the Bitcoin Advisor, where I help clients with multi-sig and collateral custody solutions and inheritance plans, and helping them manage their keys properly, both for themselves, their children, and even the generations beyond, the great-grandchildren and beyond. So anyway, consulting, reality with that is that my time is finite. My time on earth is limited, and while I love helping people, I simply can't help everyone because my time is finite, and the demand for my time is exponential. So my link for consulting is in the description. You can sign up there. You'll get a chunk of my time at a given rate. You'll be able to keep that rate for a significant period of time. My rate will go up over time. As I said, my time is finite. The demand for my time is exponential, so my rate will go up. But if you want to talk to me over phone call, Zoom, whatever, you can find me in the consulting. Or if you want to talk to me at the Bitcoin Advisor, I'd be more than happy to give you a free consultation there and see if our products and the desires that you have for your Bitcoin custody, short-term or long-term, would be a proper fit there. So check those things out. Please comment what you would like to hear me ramble on about in the future. And ultimately, I hope your main takeaway from this video is that there is a beautiful path ahead of us. That's kind of cool. That looks neat. Forget the stop sign over there. But besides the stop sign, there is a great path ahead of us where we have less technologically in common with the future than the past, and that Bitcoin's value should theoretically go up exponentially, tracking alongside that exponential curve in technology. So Bitcoin's going up forever, not because fiat's going down forever, even though that's true, but it's going up perpetually because we have to assume that human progress and technological progress just gets better exponentially. So yes, Bitcoin's going up forever because the US dollar and all the fiat currency is going down forever, but even more importantly, and an even bigger deal, is that Bitcoin's going up forever because we are going to perpetually be pricing in more and more technological and prosperity gains to society.